So good morning again. We are gathered together here for the presentation of the Social Impact Alliance report on the philanthropy and the potential of the development of corporate social responsibility in Bulgaria. Together with us today is Konrad Sivinsky, who is a leading member of Social Impact Alliance team. And we've got Ilyan Kostov from DGKV, which is the legal partner of the initiative. I'm Daniel Kiryakov. I'm representing the American Chamber of Commerce, which is the institutional partner of that initiative, of that project in Bulgaria. And we are very happy and thankful to Ms. Anna Kozinevska from the Social Impact Alliance and our peers from AmCham Slovenia, who made a link between those organizations and ours in order to raise that topic not only internally but among partners and friends in the country. So without further ado, I'm giving the floor to Konrad, who is going to make his magic and present the numbers of that report. Konrad, glad having you here with us today.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for this introduction, and nice to see you all. We will present with Ilyan our results, our findings from the report, which is available to download, to read, which of course I encourage you to do after the meeting. And I'm starting with a presentation. I believe you are seeing that it's working. Yeah, if someone can confirm, it will be great that you can see the presentation. Cool.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to also thank you, Daniel, for the contribution you made to this report. Thank you, Ilyan, and your team that you supported us with this tax and legal part. And Ilyan will guide you through this part connected with tax and legal topics. And we are a Social Impact Alliance for Central and Eastern Europe. And to shortly introduce ourselves, our main goal of what we are doing for the more or less 4 years right now is finding the answers or looking for answers, how to unlock private capital for social good. We are operating in 11 countries from Baltics to Balkans. You can see them on the map. And the reason behind is that we, after doing the quantitative study with general public, we asked people about the level of donations right now and the potential donations in the future. Of course, it is declaration, but we observed that currently in the region we are giving more or less $3 billion and 3 billion euros, and asking people, okay, how much can you donate? They told us that it could be even more or less twice higher. So we believe that if we will find the proper motivation, if we can somehow address the barriers, there is a big potential around individuals, but also corporates, companies, investors who might be interested in doing something good. But we also believe that we need to look for some changes. And what is the context here? And also I will tell you more about the study we've done in 2022. General public, people 18 to 65, general society, so customers, employees, investors, people from different groups. We've done this study to observe the situation right now. And first of all, one of the questions we had there was, what are the expectations toward businesses? Which SDGs are these SDGs where we as a people believe that businesses in our region should focus on? And this is something interesting, because I know that there are a lot of initiatives around some topics, but please see that here we have the SDGs connected with something which is in the DNA of the businesses and companies. You have responsible consumption, economic growth, innovation, industries, energy, topics that are some how connected with what we are doing every day with our businesses and doing it in a sustainable way is something that people expecting, that what we are doing will be connected with our businesses. And last but not least is the topic about the partnerships. We had this question in the field of NGOs, in public administration, where we believe that someone should address SDGs. But we observed that in the businesses, this partnership is very important. It is the topic that we as a people believe that business can do something. We believe that business driven by KPIs, driven by projects, etc., can do something and build alliances, build connections with other stakeholders, and this is something which for which I will encourage you to do so. Okay, and something about the activity. When we ask people how the business in this sustainable world should behave, is that first of all, 72% believe that what you are doing should be coherent and fair to employees and clients. So it is not only something we are doing externally, but it is also something we are doing internally. It should be somehow coherent and structured and deeply in the company. Secondly, is that we should somehow act for a local environment. It doesn't mean that every action should be local, very locally oriented, but we should feel that the company is here doing something for us as a people, and we should understand that. And the last thing is that 66% expect that your activity will be connected with your business profile. It is something I am discussing a lot with some companies, that it is not so easy sometimes, because if you are doing something connected with ecology, which is very, very popular right now, or something connected with some crisis giving, it is sometimes not so easy to combine it with our everyday work, but it is worth to try, even in the description of what we are doing, how it is connected with our businesses. The reason behind is that when you are doing it in that way, people are more oriented on your company, not only what you are doing. It is for them something obvious, somehow connectable with your business activity, and it's then easier to observe some results around your customers, clients, employees. And how about the employees? Because I started with the money, because if we are thinking about the private capital, we of course have some funds. But very important topic for us is also other capitals, like what we can do, some skills, some knowledge. And we have two opportunities, we can say, here connected with businesses. First one is employee volunteering. When we ask the employers if they can do some volunteer work during working hours, only 20% declare they can do it. These are the people who can do it, or they are even aware that they can do it, because sometimes they are not aware that the programs are there. So not so many, but you can see that around those who are not aware or can't do it, 38% would like to. So there is a kind of expectation. And even stronger is in pro bono activities. Only 14% are aware that employer is doing something in a pro bono way. So supporting some organizations with the time of the company, but even half of people who are not aware or not doing it, they did declare that companies should be involved, but right now it's done. So this is also the opportunity to do something not only connected directly with the money. Of course, there are some issues with that, but we will go to it later. And benefits, still declaration, but very strong from my perspective. People declare that they prefer to buy products and services from socially committed brands. In Bulgaria, it's even stronger than in the region, 60%. Of course, it is declaration, and I'm not telling you that 60% of your customers will give you very more money when you have products or services socially committed. But it is, from my perspective, some kind of push from the customers that they expect this kind of products, and they somehow declared that they are in their area of interests. More or less half of them also told us directly that they are willing to pay a little more for this kind of products. But something interesting is that more or less one of third people declared that when searching for a new job, they pay attention to whether the company is socially responsible, engages in pro bono, etc. I believe that you are also familiar with that, or you somehow felt that if you have Gen Zs, people from younger generation, they start to ask businesses or during the discussion with HR team, what is the mission, what is the goal. I had the same discussion with younger people, so this is also kind of a push. We call it talent acquisition because we've heard that it is important during our consultations. And going to our report, because that one was also available connected to this report with quantitative data is also available on our site. But where we are right now as a country, and this is the premiere of the report directly for Bulgaria. We've done the expert study with the big support from American Chamber of Commerce and Daniel, with support from Ilian and team, and with support from lots of people who are on this slide. Some of you are here. Thank you very much for this contribution. We had 20 organizations from Bulgaria who supported this research, these consultations. We had with all of you around 1 hour of meeting discussing the barriers, motivators from different stakeholders. These organizations representing, as I said, different stakeholders because we have businesses, business angels networks, VC funds, investors, social entrepreneurs, organizations connecting nonprofits, experts, etc. So our mission here, and in each country we've done the same study, is to cover as much topics and as much stakeholder as possible, talking with people who are representing particular ecosystems. So here is the list. One more time, thank you very much, because we had the opportunity to talk with different voices, but after these meetings we prepared the report. Sometimes I see that this report is kind of a tough experience because we are describing barriers and we receive feedback that, oh my God, there are a lot of topics we need to cover, etc., etc., etc. We are also feeling that way, but we've decided sometimes ago that when we are describing the areas that we can address, somehow we need to be strict, directly telling what could be addressed, and then is a starting point for looking for the answers. And in the report, we described some barriers. Here they are. During this presentation, we will not go through all of them because it will be too long. But definitely, one more time, I encourage you to download the report. It's not long. You can shortly read what are the barriers, what are the possible recommendations. But right now, we will guide you with Ilian through some of them. I will start with the soft barriers, and then Ilian will guide you through 3 of tax and legal barriers, because as I said at the beginning, Ilian and team supported us with the describing tax and legal barriers, preparing recommendations, so he is the best person to tell you more about it. Starting with the selected soft ones, first of all, in Bulgaria, you have kind of, we can say, unstable political situation. It is something that we've heard from different groups, and it is because of that it is difficult to have a strong dialogue with public sector. In recent years, there were many changes of government, frequent changes of ministries responsible for social issues. Because of that, there is lack of predictability and makes it very difficult to this stable dialogue with decision makers, because it is not a topic of experts. Sometimes they are stable, they are able to talk with you, but this is a topic with decision makers, people who are guiding, preparing strategies, etc. So we have experts on board, but sometimes they are not so decisive as they could because they are not ministries. It is changing a lot. So here is the topic which is kind of a barrier here. And our recommendations connected with that topic, of course, we can say that stable government is sometimes better. maybe not always, but generally a horizontal approach to social issues is something that it is important. Going from ministry to talk about it is not so good. If we have dedicated body or person responsible for social issues across ministries, it is very easier to talk about these topics. We know that there are some movements in Bulgaria to do it. It's starting, so we believe that it will be even stronger in the future. Second one is connected with something we observe generally in the region, so insufficient long-term funding for social goals. Something which is more often observed is project-based short-term financing, also from public sector, but also from private sector. These projects are not so long, so because of that, social sector is not so stable. There is lack of kind of core funding for the operational topics. Here and now approach is more present. Rather than in-depth analysis of problem. And something I think worth to underline is a topic connected with EU funds. They are demanding and difficult. There is a bureaucracy reporting behind. It's not easy topic for lots of companies or social sector or NGOs. So we need translators, experts who can help us with receiving these funds. If it's difficult, not everyone is interested, not everyone is able to do it on their own. So we need to somehow find knowledge and support here. Recommendations, dialogue between different stakeholders. Another topic is supporting in EU funds. And last but not least is something which I didn't mention in the description, but we've heard that some international donors, not all of them because you have a big foundation that's supporting social topics, some international donors decided after joining EU, it's not only in Bulgaria, it is a topic of our region that each country after joining EU observed that the situation in which international donors or foundation told that, okay, you have EU funds, right now you can do it on your own, so we are not so needed here. Unfortunately, it's not so easy. There is a need. As I said, EU funds are sometimes not enough or too bureaucratic. So also the return of international donors would make it possible to operate in long-term basis. And last one from the soft ones is connected with impact investing. This is the topics we are strongly believe that in future it might be important because of the comparison to Western countries where some funds are more oriented on impact. In our region, we have not so many impact funds, but investors see the social matters and become interested in that. But still, we need to remember that they are pragmatic. They are pragmatic, profit-oriented. It's not a bad situation, but we need to deliver them in the area of impact, some measurements. So impact measurement is important. Sometimes we also heard that investing in impact or in some sustainability is connected with bigger risk. It's not so profitable as other areas, so we need to encourage investors to go that way. In our recommendation is set of simple, understandable guidelines. What is impact? How to measure it? Good words, but very difficult to implement, unfortunately. We need a shift in mindset around impact providers, because we also heard that from the investors that the offer from the impact providers, some social entrepreneurs, etc., is not so easy to follow. And it's worth to think about some incentives for the investors interested in investing in impact. Or for impact, some tax incentives, or maybe some lower taxes on exit, etc. Something which will minimize the risk and encourage them to invest in that way. All right, and I will pass the microphone somehow to Ilian to guide you through the tax and legal.
Thank you for the introduction. Once again, my name is Ilian Kostov. I'm an attorney with DGKV. Now to the topic, legal and tax barriers. The first barrier which we have identified is related to the tax treatment of donations. It is notable that in Bulgaria, individuals and businesses pay relatively low taxes. They pay 10% on the revenue and on personal income, which makes it difficult to build an incentive system for donors based on tax relief. In other words, diminishing what is already a low taxation percentage cannot really be considered as an effective incentive in practice. Currently, individuals can deduct 5%, 15%, or 50% from their tax base for donations to certain categories of beneficiaries, and companies can recognize 10, 15, or 50% of the expenses for donations of their accounting profit. The exact amount depends on the recipient of the donation. We also would like to note that the total value of the donations that can be written off cannot exceed 65% of the accounting profit. So donation expenses in favor of recipients other than those exclusively listed in the law, for example, if the donation is made to a private benefit non-profit organization, such donations are not recognized for tax purposes and will be added back to the financial result. Thus, full 10% of corporate income tax will be imposed on the donation. Now, in order to make use of the tax reliefs, which we just explained, the donations also need to be documented, which in turn requires additional work on part of the accounting departments. And taking advantage of the relief may entail giving unnecessary explanation to the tax authorities as well. To summarize everything in this slide, given the low amount of tax to be paid, the deductions are not large, and this is not much of an incentive to undertake socially responsible activities. And modifying the mechanism or introducing other types of incentives, for example, preferential treatment in tenders, should be considered. And now to the next slide. The second subject that we'll touch on will be the legal framework of social entrepreneurship, which may prove to be quite confusing to the general public. Generally speaking, there are two separate laws specifically regulating the matter in Bulgaria. The first one being the law on enterprises of social and solidarity economy, and the second one being the law on people with disabilities. Both of these laws were adopted in the end of 2018 and are using some terminology which is similar but in practice different, which may prove to be rather confusing to people. For example, both laws set out rules for socially engaged entities, but the definitions are completely different, and the entities are in fact two separate types of entities. Now, firstly, the law on enterprises of social and solidarity economy defines a type of entity called social enterprise. And on the other hand, the law on people with disabilities sets out another type of entity, which is the specialized enterprises and cooperatives of people with disabilities. In terms of incentives, they describe those two entities. The law is also not uniform. For example, the specialized enterprises and cooperatives for people with disabilities are entitled to 50% refund of social security and health security payments for their employees, provided that the latter amounts are reinvested in rehabilitation and social integration of disabled people and supporting personnel. Furthermore, subject to certain conditions, these entities are also entitled to a tax deferral of the corporate income tax. But as already mentioned, those incentives are only applicable to one of the types of entities. On the other hand, the other type of entity, the social enterprise, they're entitled to other types of incentives, which are mainly two options for granting the use of public property and financial support for professional qualification of employees. In order to overcome any barriers in the field of social entrepreneurship, the first step would naturally be the achievement of a more comprehensive legal network, unifying all applicable concepts and incentives which will allow the stakeholders to perceive the socially engaged enterprises in a much broader perspective. And now to the last slide, which is the commercial activity carried out by non-profit legal entities. Firstly, I would like to note that Bulgarian law generally provides two types of entities. The first one being the commercial legal entities, which are broadly speaking the companies and carry out activities for profit. And the other type of legal entities, the non-profit legal entities, are foundations and associations which carry out their activity for some type of idealistic purpose, but in any case not for profit. However, this does not mean that non-profit legal entities are prohibited from entering into any types of contracts which would generate some profit to them. In fact, they may engage in some types of supplementary commercial activities, provided that these activities are supplementary and related to the main non-profit activity, and thus they do not have a leading role. They also need to be explicitly stated in the incorporation documents of the entity, and the revenue from the commercial activity must be reinvested because it is a rule by Bulgarian law that distribution of dividends for non-profit legal entities is forbidden. So any revenue realized by commercial activities of non-profit legal entities is subject to a 10% corporate income tax. As we can see, there are limitations in the scope of the activities to be carried out by non-profit legal entities commercially, and thus in practice they carry out very limited scope of such activities. For example, they sell very small items for advertisement purposes. So since there are limitations to the types of commercial activities which may be carried out by such entities, there is a necessity for clear guidelines and examples to help them understand which types of commercial activities they can engage in, the types of activities that can be considered complementary to their mission. This will help organizations navigate the requirements and ensure compliance with the law while expanding their revenue generating potential.
Okay, thank you. And to finalize our presentation, I will tell you about the next steps because this is a question which we are asked a lot of times. Right now, we are finalizing the knowledge building phase. Bulgaria is our last country from the 11s we covered. So we are preparing the final report, which will be available in the last quarter of this year when we are summarizing our regional voice, the barriers, the topics we are observing through the perspective of different target groups, different areas. Then we need a year to think about it because it was, as I said, 3 years or even 4 years of our work, research work. We had a lot of discussions, a lot of areas to think about. And we will think about where we have the biggest impact, what we can address together. And we are going to build some alliances with our friends, people we meet during these consultations. As I said at the beginning, we are not doing it on our own. It is not our idea to do it that under our own. Thanks to all of you, we are giving the strong voice of our region, our countries, and we believe that we will find some areas we would like to catch, to think about, and build this strategic goal for us, unlocking private capital for social good. And then we will go to implementation phase, we believe, in which we are going to do some projects, some topics connected with cooperation, but also tax and legal issues. Think about the best possible answers for the areas that Ilian told you about, and try to think about the good proof points, etc. So thank you very much from both of us, and hope it was interesting for you. And as I said, please download the report, see what we have there, and think about it if you will be interested for the following discussions. We are always there, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Konrad. Thank you, Ilian, for this concise presentation and very full of interesting insights. Some of the insights probably some of our colleagues have already have some experience because they are experts in the field. Some of us are just not bystanders, but supporters for a general campaign or causes that we do randomly or systematically. I would like to open the discussion part right now, and during some chat exchange with Martin Ivanov, who suggested that we can introduce ourselves in order to realize who is who in that, let's say, well-packed group of almost 2 dozen of people here. And Martin, would you like to go first? And if there are questions, Konrad and Ilian, you are available to answer them, right?
Thank you, Daniel. I'm Martin Ivanov. I was contacted as a chairman of the Federation of Social NGOs in Bulgaria, which is a small network of NGOs, mainly in the social field and non-formal education. But I'm also PhD and working at the Institute of Sociology and Philosophy at the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences. That's so far from me.
Thank you. Thank you. And probably when we disseminate the report, when it's available on our website and other sources, it will be a good idea to share your emails among you in order to be in more direct link. All right. Are there any questions, please?
Yeah, Danny, maybe I can ask a question here.
Thank you, Mario.
Hewlett Packard Enterprise. Thanks, Konrad and Ilian, for the presentation, and thanks to Danny, to you for involving us in the interview stage as well, and being able to provide the feedback and talking to you guys. My question is related to something you kind of touched in one of the slides, but very briefly. How do you see Bulgaria stands out compared to the rest of the countries you have been talking to?
I think you have some particular field in your mind, or it was general question?
No, in general, I mean, overall, because my feeling is that we have very different experience from field to field or from industry to industry in Bulgaria. So I cannot be very more precise on that.
I think it's, we have, I believe, during this research, we observed that there is a lot of in common in our region. It was somehow surprising. And I think that when you observe the tough data, we can say directly from the individual, so quantitative study, the situation is rather on the average. It's not best, not better, not worse than the average, more or less. So there is a big interest in what we can do. Something which is differentiating around countries is definitely the level of cooperation, we can say, between stakeholders, not within, but between different groups. And here the situation is not so bad, we can say. You have the connections, but some countries are more oriented on topics connected with, for example, social entrepreneurship, impact investing. Like, for example, Estonia, when we have strong startup ecosystem, they are thinking about it, how to put social ecosystem in that system, but it is not so easy. Here in Bulgaria, we had a lot of discussions how to build the kind of a trust, which we are sometimes lacking, but also in Poland, in Romania, in Hungary, in some countries, there is a topic about the trust between stakeholders and what they would like to achieve. But as I said, it is situation rather similar. It's difficult to tell that something is really the best and really the worst in some countries. And I think we even want to do that because we are not feeling that, the countries itself are not telling that something is not working, something is working. We observe the similar barriers, especially in the soft ones, but in the tax and legal, there are a lot of differences because tax schemes are very different. And this part Ilian mentioned, for example, in Bulgaria, it is really difficult to build some tax incentive because of the low taxes. And it is something we observe here. In the Romania, I'm not sure if you are familiar with, but to compare you with countries we've done previously, they have completely different tax scheme around donations, we can say, even because they have no benefits for your giving, but as a company, for example, you can redistribute 20% of your tax thanks to some kind of sponsorship law. So there is a big tax redistribution. Here we don't have this mechanism, so there are big differences in the, we can say somehow, the tax scheme and the legal environment in which we are operating in.
Thank you, Konrad. Thank you, Mario, for stepping in. And before I give the floor to Elisa Barakova, probably she rose her hand, or I'm mistaken, but she is not.
Yes.
Is there just a short one? Konrad, do you see in your project plan some sort of a harmonization attempts, harmonization of the taxation systems related to the social impact and the social investments? As I'm taking that, bringing it forward because of your last sentence in the example in Romania, they have something done sort of good, something working well for the society, but it doesn't seem that it works well for the companies. And on the other hand, the Estonia example, yeah, we know about the digitalization and startup ecosystems. But again, they are facing that challenge of incorporating the, let's say, social entrepreneurship into that system in order for continuous sustainable growth. That's a short one, and but don't answer, please. I don't want to miss the opportunity for Elisa to step in here.
Hello, Elisa Barakova from Because Foundation. Nice to meet again, Konrad.
Yeah, thank you one more time.
Thank you for presenting your report findings. It will be really good for me to download the full report, as the issues were too broad for a short presentation, and well, the fields ranged from donations to social investment and all in between. So it's quite a wide area. So my question is about the next steps, and what's your methodology and how you plan to do whatever projects you have in mind, how they will be selected. Do you think of some collaborative projects? How will they be funded, and what is your particular role? What are you going to bring to these to the Bulgarian projects in particular? Thank you.
It's kind of difficult questions, but because we are in the phase where we are thinking about it. Definitely, I can tell you that we are as I said, working in alliances, and together. We are not, for example, thinking, oh, okay, right now we will hire lots of people and do our own projects. It's not the way. During this 2 or 3 years of conversation, as you can see, 11 countries, more or less 20 organizations in each country. We meet around 250 people around our region, representing different groups, different stakeholders, businesses, etc. So we are definitely thinking about some ways to work together across countries, but I can tell you directly in what will be the mechanism behind workshops, conferences, etc. It is the topic right now we are thinking about. Of course, it is also referring to the previous topic questions. We observe the different tax and legal schemes. We need to, put them in a box, see what we have, what we've heard, because it is a question: tax deductions versus tax redistribution, what is working, why it is working, etc. So we are going to think about it, consult it with the legal companies that supported us in each country, and think about maybe the best possible way, discuss it with the countries. But definitely, it is a step in which I can't tell you directly what we are going to do, because we are, as I said, we are in the phase when we are thinking right now about the 3-4 areas we would like to somehow cover, but first of all we need to think about it, which are the most important ones and how to address it. One area which I didn't mention before, it's important for us, and maybe it was not underlined in the presentation, but we also had it in the report, is something connected with education. I believe you will also feeling that we need kind of education connected with social topics in different areas in schools, but also in universities. We had also representatives of academia that told us about the courses there are for students, practitioners, MBA studies. We also believe that we need this kind of knowledge and expertise in our markets to grow experts for social sector, for business sector, who are not only learning by doing as it is working a lot right now, but also with proper and good education in this sphere. It's starting in some countries and you have some programs about it, but we need to build this knowledge base definitely. And it is the topic we also think about, but still, we are not going to open the university to do it. We need some collaborative work in our countries and maybe bring some good practitioners from Western countries. I don't know right now yet.
Yeah, I just, if I may go on, Daniel, for a while. So yeah, I think that the network of the organizations which has been part of the interview, so this knowledge collection project is the real treasure of this collaboration of process. So this is something I would like to be able to tap into, and generally my advice should be anyway to either leave it to different people to come together and collaborate, because yes, the fields are really broad, and I might say that in Bulgaria, almost every of the fields that you mentioned, there is much deeper research and surveys done, and in some areas like the tax incentives for donations, or comparing us with Romania or Hungary or else, we have been years doing that, and well, we decided not to do it anymore. So I would hate to do some of the things repeated with yes, low taxes means not a very good acceptance of tax incentives or percentage laws, and some we just lost these opportunities 20 years ago. So no path there. I just want to mention that there is deeper knowledge everywhere, and connectivity is what is lacking, and advocacy resources. So if you're able to bring more connectedness between us here and the organizations there, and advocacy methodologies, ways how to strengthen and enhance our ability, because most of the recommendations were in the field of advocacy, some were in the field of capacity building. So yes, lots of work, and I'm really excited about the next stages of how this work can go on. Thank you.
Thank you, and definitely it is the way. I will also underline one more thing. I think it should be told that we observed, and maybe not in each country, but definitely in your country, there is a strong ecosystem in a country. It's not our idea to go to the country and tell what you need to do, because as you said, you are very familiar with these topics. Our goal is to bring connectivity between our countries. Because if we are talking about, okay, Bulgaria, Romania, Poland, Hungary, these are rather big countries. But if we are thinking, come back to Estonia, 1.5 million of people in Estonia, they told us, okay, a lot of initiatives are even not worth thinking about, because if you are doing it for not so many people, sometimes it is you need to think in regionally or as a one voice in the region, and we believe also in that way that building this connectivity is something which can somehow bring us for the next level. So thank you.
Superb. Are there other people that would like to jump in for some insights, for some short comments or questions? 3, 2, 1. Thank you all. Konrad, Ilian, it was a pleasure. Again, the report will be disseminated. Thank you very much for all of you that have contributed with answers and interviews with the team of Anas and Konrad's over the past 4 weeks. Again, let's be in touch and continue developing that topic and the social entrepreneurship and corporate social responsibility and advocating, as Elisa said, on behalf of the NGOs for the good of the society. Take care.
Thank you very much.